All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Sun Valley Shop Talk. Today we have a good friend and a great influence in the Valley, Mike McKenna. Mike is the executive director of the Chamber in Hailey and the Wood River Valley, a role he's held since early 2019, having served on the Chamber board for several years before that. Originally from New England, Mike moved to the Valley in 1996. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, nice.
Impressed.
Spending time in diverse roles before becoming a full-time champion of the region. An award-winning author and journalist, he's contributed to publications including Sun Valley Magazine, SVPN, the Visit Sun Valley blog, the Idaho Magazine, as well as writing guides like Angling Around Sun Valley and Casting Around the Eastern Sierra. Off the page, Mike is deeply active in the community as a youth hockey coach, referee for Sun Valley Youth Hockey. He's also a key voice on local nonprofit boards, including the Hailey Tree Committee and Blaine County Sustainability and Climate Advisory Committee. At home, he and his wife, Brooke.
Yes.
Okay. You're raising two boys. And he has a combination of strategic leadership, storytelling, community service, and love for the Valley that make him an inspiring voice for this episode. So, welcome to the shop. I feel like we've spent some time together over the past year or so, but for the listeners and, I feel like everybody in the Valley knows you a little bit, but I want to know how did you find yourself here? How'd you get to Sun Valley? And then what's keeping you here?
Those are good questions, and questions I often ask myself as a journalist. What's your Sun Valley story? But very few people ask me, so this is kind of fun for me. It actually starts in like 1978 or 77 when we hosted the World Cup originally. I was a little kid at my parents' house just across the harbor from Boston, and Wide World of Sports was on, and the helicopter flew around to town. And it was Ketchum, Idaho, and it just imprinted. I stopped wrestling around with my brothers, and I'm like, that is the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my life, Ketchum, Idaho. So I believe it was 77 was the last time we hosted World Cup before it came back recently. And for whatever reason, just imprinted on me. My family did not ski. I was in Boston. I didn't even know where Idaho was, but it just kind of connected with me. And in my early 20s, I had a chance to move from Taos, New Mexico to Bend, Oregon. So I decided to check out Sun Valley on the way. And so I drove through, and I thought Ketchum was cool, but Hailey really connected with me. And I stopped at what is now the no longer brewery, Sun Valley Brewery, stopped in there to have a beer on my road trip to Oregon. And the locals were so cool, so kind, so friendly. It was so pretty. I said, okay, I think I'm supposed to be here. So about a year later, a couple of buddies of mine, three of us moved here. They didn't last. I lasted. The community, and what keeps me here. And then we left. I met a local girl, Brooke Pace McKenna is my wife, the executive director of the Hunger Coalition. But she grew up here, just graduated college, and she's like, let's get out of here. So we started to bounce around, follow my writing career. We were in Boise, New Hampshire, and California and the Eastern Sierra for a bunch of years. But I kept wanting to move back. We'd come back to see family all the time. And I go, why aren't we living here? And she'd say, because I have too many family members here. Her mom was one of 7 daughters that grew up in the Wood River Valley. So when I started dating her, it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
From the sea case to the casino and everything in between, no matter where I went, I would meet a family member. But so eventually I moved back. My joke was I had to knock her up twice and get offered a good job to move back here. I moved right into these offices when I was the editor of Sun Valley Magazine. They recruited me to move back here. And we've been back ever since. And it's a great place, as you guys know, to live, to raise children, to be a family. And the community is just awesome, and it's beautiful. And our access to recreation does everything I love in a community that I'm really happy to be a part of.
When you were like watching the TV back, did you say 77?
I think it was 77, 78.
What do you...
I was a little kid, yeah.
What was that? Was it just because it's so different from New England that you were...
Yeah, it was just they flew around. I didn't know what it was. It took me almost 20 plus years to ever actually figure out what I saw that day. But whatever it was, whether it's your angels or it's karma or it's fate or whatever, something imprinted on me. And I didn't realize I had remembered it forever. But when I was living in Taos, New Mexico, and I met some guys from Sun Valley, Idaho there, and I went... I always thought, I think I want to go there. And they told me how great it was. But it was beautiful, just flying around mountains. I mean, Boston's the East Coast, unless you're in the Appalachians, it's flat. Instead of just seeing a horizon line, it was mountains and a cute little town and snow. And we know how Ketchum can look on a pretty winter day. It's so idyllic and picturesque. So for whatever reason, I guess it was fate or something, it just called me here. And then now here I am 30, 40, 50 years later, running the chamber, married to a local gal, write for all the local publications, and being, like you said, a champion of this place. It's kind of interesting how that happened. Because I don't remember much of my first 12 years of life anyways, but I remember that place.
Yeah. And then, so what age were you when you were going up towards Bend, stopping here?
I was 25 then.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was almost 20 years later, basically.
And did you, in that memory, stuck? Like, or was it more like a...
Well, I wanted to see Sun Valley, right? Okay. And I had actually driven across the country a couple of summers before with another girlfriend, and we decided to skip it, and I wanted to go, but and so I go, I just knew something, I don't know, it's, like I said, fate, who knows, guardian angels, whatever you believe in, something always drew me to this area. Yeah. And I'm probably not alone in that. The fact that I can pinpoint it, most people say, oh, I came to visit a friend or a family, or I was driving through. A lot of people who move here, as I handle with the chamber, have visited here with a friend or a family. There's something brought them here. Mm-hmm. For me, it was just, this is your place. And I've loved all the places I've lived. Like I said, I lived in California for 7 years in Mammoth and Bishop and the Eastern Sierra, and I loved all that too. But nothing is quite as special as the Wood River Valley.
Yeah. Well, that is interesting that you felt that, and then you're a big influence for the city now. It would be like a different story if you felt that same thing, but then it was just like you had like whatever, just average, workforce, whatever it is, like day to day. But the fact that your position has been like leading people here, like communicating the story of the valley, and also like getting people excited, and now where you are directing the chamber. That's cool.
It's a good point that I hadn't really thought of. Like, I know what it's like to be attracted to this place and be, come out of the blue and want to come here.
Yeah.
Whereas marrying a local gal and being very active locally, coaching different sports, whether it was hockey, baseball, soccer, basketball, I've coached them all around here since the 90s, basically. You really get ingrained in the local community, and they all love it here, but they don't look at it the same way those of us who didn't grow up here did.
Yeah.
So that probably does help me a little bit. And in the tourism field, you have people who bounce around a lot. The fact that this was my home and I was already a journalist before I sort of switched sides to go into the marketing side probably helped as well.
Yeah.
And being a journalist too, and the two things I think have really helped me be a great a knowledgeable person about the local area and the whole state is writing and coaching, because they get me to talk to and meet people in every nook and cranny of our valley, and then also throughout the state too. Because I do a lot of writing throughout the state of Idaho. So I really have gotten to fall in love and think the place is amazing. The funny thing, or not so funny now, is that it's discovered. So I just had a conversation. I help run the Welcome Center here in Hailey. We get visitors this time of year all day. And Idaho's not a secret. The whole, you're going to Iowa, you're going to Ohio. Those aren't quite what they once were anymore, for better or worse.
I feel like in the past couple of years, right? Like that's when I would tell, because we're not also, but that's another, we're also not from here because we moved here like 5 or 6 years ago. And we feel the same way though, that we want to make, while we're having this podcast, like we want to have an influence, even though we're not from here, but we have a different perspective that someone that grew up here might not have, where they, like the idea of the history of the Wood River Valley gets me excited, and the people are cool, and like it's a smaller town, you get to know everybody. Where we're from, it's like you have your people, but then there's millions outside of there. So
absolutely. I used to joke, in New England they don't even say welcome to the neighborhood till you've lived there for 7 years. And they're like, oh, you're a local now, you can stay. But to your point too, one of the things I really do like about our community, and having lived in 7 states and other ski towns, is if you come here and be like you guys and be like, we want to be part of what's great here. We're not coming here and asking you to change for us because we liked it in LA or Boston or Chicago. Yeah. We're going to come and adapt to you. People who have those attitudes really thrive and are successful and get embraced by the community. It's when you come to a small community like ours and say, this stinks. Why do you do that? Or we do this where I live, or I do this. This is what worked where we lived. Well, the typical response is, well, then go back there. If that's what
exactly.
You want, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think you guys have done a good job already making a name for yourself and getting trusted and respected in our community, because the way all the meetings we've had, knowing what you guys are about, you just want to come and be part of the solution, so to speak, and that's cool, and I think the community appreciates it.
Yeah, totally. So I saw on the Days of the Old West poster is the elephant.
Oh, that was last year.
Okay, that was last year's.
Yep.
Okay. That was I saw that.
We
in your
can get
office.
into that too because that has a cool history.
I want to know. Yeah, okay. So what's this year's poster though?
So last year's themes was the anniversary of the circus coming to town.
Okay.
And maybe I'll talk about that for a sec before we get into the modern one.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
last year, it was the 100th anniversary, I guess, 1883, of the first time the circus came to town. And what happened is the circus came to Hailey right when Hailey had only been in town for like 2 years. And they brought the largest elephant in captivity to Hailey as part of the circus. The circuses would tour around. And it was a big deal back then in Idaho because nothing was going on. So to bring the circus and the largest captive elephant in the world to Hailey brought people from all over the region. I mean, people were taking trains here, and it was a big deal to get here to see this. So part of it is the main street was lined with people, and the parade landed over here just off of the bike path now.
Yeah.
And then they have a parade essentially that would go to the rodeo ground or the parade grounds, which were different when they are now, where the rodeo grounds are now. Anyways, the elephant got loose and just started trashing town. And he would occasionally do this. And he got loose and he trashed a bunch of stuff. They wound up shooting it a bunch of times. It bent one of the guns. And if you go into the Blaine County Historical Museum, they do have a section about this. They have one of the old guns they shot.
No way.
We're talking about going in there.
Yeah. That place is really cool. They've done a wonderful job in there. I highly recommend any visitors or any locals even go in there. But anyways, the elephant got loose, and then they finally wrangled him back in, and then he was mellow. And he was famous for doing this. He would, about once a year or so, this elephant, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, would get loose and just
I think
cause
Samson.
problems. Samson the elephant,
Yeah.
that's an
my
example.
gosh.
So Samson's the world's largest elephant, tore through Hailey, and so we decided that was a cool thing to celebrate its anniversary. Maybe it was the 150th, I guess, of that. So we celebrated that last year.
Didn't they have that bar? Wasn't it called something Elephant?
We used to have the Red Elephant
Red
Saloon
Elephant,
right here
yeah.
in Hailey, which
I
is
remember
named
that.
after one of the mountains here west
Oh,
of town.
okay.
And that was a classic old place. I wish we still had the Red
I
Elephant.
know.
The Reddy, as everybody calls it.
Where was that?
It was
It's right on Main Street where it's across from the Mint. It's where I'm not even sure who's in there now. La Cabanita was in there last.
It's 208 Tacos.
Yeah.
208 Tacos.
But what was that before La Cabanita? It was a bar my buddy owned from Manhattan Beach, actually.
Yeah, there was
Josh and
they
I can't
called
remember
it the
his
Mule
name.
Shoe.
Yes, the Mule Shoe.
I
Yep.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yep. They
The
called
Shoe.
it the Shoe
Yeah,
for a
the
while.
Shoe.
Yeah.
There used to be an old famous bar in Hailey during Hemingway's time called the Snug that people
Oh.
wish we would bring back too. And the Historical Museum has some stuff on that.
Oh, that's
too.
cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
check
read
that
that they had a hospital. I don't know which bar it was, but way back in I think like late 18th century, early 19th, or early 20th. They had a hospital above one of the bars that had like 10 beds in it, and there was like they would deliver children like right above a bar.
It could have been the old Fox building here on downtown Main Street where the city staff is now. The hospital was upstairs, and I believe it was retail beneath, so that could have been it.
Well, the casino also had pioneer housing above
Yeah,
it.
if you got,
I've been up there.
You've been
It's
up there,
crazy.
yeah. It's kind
Yeah.
of scary up
Yeah,
there. It's
it
like
is.
lost in time. But the casino, yeah, it was a real casino and had hotel rooms upstairs.
It's
So they
insane.
Is it like they left it?
Now I think Patty that owns it.
Last time I was in there, they hadn't done anything in decades.
They have
and
an
it was-
office up there.
Oh, they
now.
do. Okay, yeah.
Are
And
there
you know,
like beds? Like that?
I don't. I never
it
walked
was-
in the room. So
yeah, we took a tour there maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and it was
pretty bad.
in pretty
Spooky.
bad. But you could see what it once was, but it did seem like it was lost in time. Although the casino seems like it hasn't changed since 1910 either.
Yeah.
Especially the bathrooms.
yeah, those are rough.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when I first moved here. They're like, yeah, if you go in the bathroom and you laugh sitting on the toilet because there's no
Yeah,
stalls,
there's nothing.
then you could stay as a local. I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
They
Hey,
give
well,
you a
you
shot
made
of
it.
penicillin as you're walking out.
right.
That's funny.
We didn't.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
this
Oh,
year,
yeah,
so that was really cool last year because even though no one really wants to bring circuses around, the fact that everyone got into it was a super cool parade, and they got a big inflatable elephant
Yeah.
that they had and went up and down, and a lot of people got into it. Was really cool. And whenever we can theme them that we think people will follow, it's awesome. The general theme is Days of the Old West for every 4th of July here, but sometimes we do theme it. This year we don't have a theme, so to speak. Next year we'll do the 250th anniversary of America.
Oh wow.
So that should be a big deal. But this year, there isn't a theme per se, except the Wood River Women's Foundation has been selected as the Grand Marshals. And It's their 20th anniversary, and their story is a pretty cool one too, which would be good for a podcast to get some of those women in. But for the last 20 years, they've been positively impacting every nook and cranny of our community. So when I heard about their anniversary, I brought it to the committee, and I said, what do you guys and gals think about unanimous? Everyone said, Wood River Women's Foundation has done great things for everyone here, so let's celebrate them. And so there's been so many, I think they've given out over 250 grants over 10 years, at least. They've probably given out even more now that I think about it, because now they're giving out maybe 20 a year or so. So they've impacted everybody. And so it should be really good. We get between about 80 and 100 different participants, and then any of them can have hopefully up to 3 parts of their parade. So we usually have about 120, 130 items in the parade, roughly, not counting bikes or stuff. But so a lot of those we expect are going to do something like maybe they got the Bloom truck at Hunger Coalition and they helped them pay for it, or the Bookmobile someplace, or whatever they have done that helped them accomplish something. Some of the kids' sports teams will be in. So it is themed and it isn't, so to speak. But one of the cool things in reading about and writing about their history is that it's so awesome for all these women who have been successful in life to come back and give back and play such a positive role model for young women in our community to see how successful you can be and show you all the options for life. And that's a secondary aspect I think that they do that's really important, that I didn't realize how impactful it was until recently, and watching how they help the girls on the run and groups like that. It's more specific, but they're doing a lot of little impacts all over the place. I only have sons, so it doesn't directly impact me, but maybe their future spouse will be stronger women because they had the foundation of watching the Woodward Women's Foundation.
That's
do great
so
stuff.
Cool. Well, I've got 2 daughters, little daughters.
Perfect.
So they'll great. Yeah, that's awesome. So how can what do they need in terms of support? Like how do they gain support? Like what?
So they're just a membership based, and they have over 300 members right now, and it's fairly the same way if you guys are familiar with the 100 Men Who Care model, which is also growing in our community and doing a lot of good things too. So the 100 Men Who Care is, I think you have to give them $100 a year, and you're part of the group. And then once a year, they have some meetings. Then once a year, they decide who to give the grant money to. It's slightly different. Wood River Women's Foundation is the same sort of deal. That if you're under the age of 50, I think you have to give maybe $500, and if you're over the age of 50, it's maybe like $1,000. Then you're part of their nonprofit organization, and they have events throughout the year. But then the cool thing they do is, the big thing they do is once a year they have a grants award, and most of the nonprofits will apply to this. And in part, not only is the award really great, but if you're selected as one of the 10 or 12 finalists, you get to present in front of their entire body, and then they vote collectively for who they're going to do. So even if, say, you have a grant and you're a finalist but you don't get it, you got to then present to 300 women who would be happy to support you in one way or shape or another. So their impact is actually stronger than just what you directly see, because you never know who's going to leave that meeting and go, okay, the group didn't vote for Girls on the Run, but I love running and I want to donate shoes or something. Yeah. So these type of magical things happen a lot.
That's super
And so
cool.
that's what's great. It's a great way for especially a lot of retired women who are newer to our community will instantly get involved, because you'll start to meet those wonderful women in that community and that organization, but also then get to see a lot of different stuff. And they'll do site tours for grants. And so they really, it's as much as it's a financial support, it's a great way to connect everyone. And that's another reason why they're great to be the Grand Marshals.
I actually have a funny story about Grand Marshal here.
Okay, good.
T.E. Pickett.
Okay.
He was a writer or publisher for the Wood River Times. Like, he brought it here.
Yeah.
So and he was like pretty racy and like provocative and just kind of like would jab at everybody. And there was a year at the 4th of July parade that he like offended whoever the Grand Marshal was.
Oh no.
and I guess they had a conversation and the Grand Marshal slapped him.
Oh,
What?
And then during the parade,
hope
the
you're
Grand
not jinxing me for this year. I'm the announcer.
Yeah, right.
and the Grand Marshal
Spencer's fault. That's why I got slapped.
He might slap you.
He's a
We'll see how
pretty
the
strong
podcast
guy. I
goes.
don't know why him slapping me.
So the Grand Marshal's going in the parade and he tries to shoot the Grand Marshal.
I have heard a little.
and have you heard this?
Yeah. Just it's vague, but as soon as you said that part, I go, "Oh, that does ring a bell."
And then he offended the judge another time of Blaine County, I guess, and the judge had the the sheriff go and whip him. But I was like that. Anyways,
he's a good newspaper guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I've worked in the newspaper business for about 20 years, and the publishers that's not why I don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought that was hilarious.
That is
during the
hilarious.
parade.
Yeah,
but
poking the bear is a lot of they like to do in the newspaper business.
Oh, totally. Yeah. But anyways, okay, so they're the Grand Marshal, and that's going to be on the 4th.
Yes.
And then the rodeo as well. Do you guys have anything to do with the rodeo? Or
We are kind of like, as I like to say, we kind of are in charge of the 3-ring circus. That's the 4th of July here. So we're involved in all of it in some way, shape, or form, whether it's marketing or permitting or management. Each level goes. The 4th of July parade is the biggest thing that we have to manage.
Yeah.
And I actually start working on that New Year's Day. There's a woman who calls me every morning on New Year, texts me every morning. We in the parade this year? Literally for 7 years straight. Yep, you're in. So yeah, there's a lot that goes on. So it basically kicks off July 2nd is when the festivities always start. And people will call the chamber and say, when's the 4th of July parade this year? And I'm like, it's December 25th. When do you think it is? It's the 4th of July. We're not changing the 4th of July, but I get those calls every year. But we always do 2nd through the 4th. So the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are always the Sawtooth Rangers Rodeo. And that has become an incredible rodeo. It's a really wonderful Western thing. And it always sells out the 4th. It pretty much always sells out the 3rd as well. The 2nd, it's family night. So it gets full. It will probably sell out, but that's the one. If you haven't bought tickets in advance, that's the one thing to do. But if you do want to go to the rodeo, tickets in advance, sawtoothrangers.org. And if you want to do the mutton busting, which is when the little kids get to ride.
Eden.
Yeah. We'll get her in there.
Yeah, they give them a hockey helmet and they throw them on. I could never get my 2 boys to do it. And they throw them. You do have to sign up for that in advance and sign a waiver. And that is also at sawtoothrangers.org. And that is hilarious and an awesome.
How old are the kids? They're like 8.
I think it's like 5 to 10, but I'm not exactly sure. You'd have to look.
Yeah.
I think basically if you're willing to sign the waiver, they'll throw your kid on there.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And I've always, so.
She's 2 right now, so if we give her a couple of years, she'll be pretty good.
Yeah, to get them before they realize what they're doing. Yeah. So that goes on 2nd to the 4th over at the rodeo grounds. That's a super fun event. Since the 4th is on a Friday this year, we also do the antique fair every year. That's been going on for over 25 years. That happens on Labor Day. Yeah, it's a fun one, and Memorial and 4th of July and Labor Day. And they do a lot more with that now too. They have more beer and kids games and stuff, and that's become a really fun part of the experience. Cool. Then on the 3rd this year will be Hailey Rocks is actually happening because every Thursday night in the summer is the free concerts at Hot Porter Park. So that's kind of become part of the festivities. So that should be a pretty fun one. And then Fridays, of course, the 4th, so the parade's at high noon on Main Street in Hailey. We finally had a study done on how many people can't come to this, and last year we counted 10,000 people, basically, mostly on phone data, but so about 10,000 people, which is Hailey's population. It's pretty amazing to think we have the entire population on like 8-10 blocks of this road. So the parade's been great. It's now nice and big. It's usually beautiful and hot and sunny, and it's a good combination of locals and visitors who come to that. Then after that, we have Riverfest, which is now technically its 10th anniversary, but it's 11th year as those things go. And that's another free concert with kids events and food garden, and like a dozen nonprofit booths are going to be there as well. And that's a great after the parade event down at Hot Porter Park.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Last year you guys went, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And the cool thing about that too is because that park, which is actually used to be called Hailey Tourist Park, I think they've actually fixed the sign, but everyone calls it Hot Porter after a local family. Hot Porter was a local guy. We put a stage in there because there used to be an event there called the Northern Rockies Folk Fest or Music Festival, went on for decades and kind of struggled. And so we've always wanted to use that park. And Hailey Rocks, thanks to Sawtooth Brewery and the Chamber really helping establish it, prove to the city that it's a viable venue. So we now got a grant and we have a half a stage up now. If you guys have seen
I saw they're building that.
Yeah.
I was wondering what that was going to be.
Yeah, so the base of the stage is done, but the way everything, we thought this was going to cost $100K. Now it's going to cost like $350 to finish it. But the base is done, so now we have an elevated stage, and over the next year, and Kiwanis Club is actually putting on the fundraiser to get a nice roof and to get all the rest of it. But the part that's up, it was prepared so that we could have decent sized bands in there, plays, what have you. So to now have that is just awesome. And this will be the first 4th of July that stage ever gets used. So that's pretty exciting.
That's going to be fun.
And then that'll rock all Thursdays, all summer. But then that's Thursday the 3rd. Then the 4th, like I said, is rodeo. Hot Porter Riverfest, and then afterwards is the fireworks usually happen at night. And then Ketchum and Sun Valley is actually doing some stuff on 4th of July too. They used to not do as much, but the one good thing about our parade is that it's the one time where everybody in the county comes to this parade. So it's not Hailey versus Ketchum, Sun Valley versus Cary, Bellevue versus wherever. We're all one, and all the fire departments, all the mayors are often in it. So they always make sure I notice that. Hey, Mike, I'm here. Okay, Peter, nice to see you. Neil from Ketchum.
Yeah.
We have a lot of good mayors in our valley right now. We're lucky in that aspect. So anyways, that's what makes it super fun, that we all come together for this one day. And Hailey's the one day of the year that Hailey's the star of the valley.
Yeah.
And then the fireworks go on, and we do fundraise for that. Costs keep going up for that. It's about $18,000 now to run those for about 45 minutes, and the fire department does that. And I'm usually passed out. So I'm so exhausted I almost never see it. But, the community loves it, and then that's that.
Who buys the fireworks? Does the fire department actually
The fire department in the city of Hailey and the chamber team up to do this.
Okay.
And so we do the fundraising. They actually do the purchasing, and then the fire department, Mike Bailage and the chief of Hailey's fire department oversee it, although he's passing it off to Christian or one of his other assistant chiefs this year, he said.
Do they do like a legit, are there people running around lighting them up? Or do
No,
they have like a legit thing?
they bring a company
Right.
in, and
Okay.
it's over. They stage in the high school parking lot, and it's all,
that's
if you
what it
get
is.
close to it, it is, if you were probably in World War II, you might have bad flashbacks. Storming the beaches of Normandy. But it's really quite an amazing thing that happens over there.
Oh, it's cool, yeah. That's so funny. I didn't know that.
I was always wondering where they lit those.
Yeah.
at. 'Cause
Yeah.
I saw where they're coming from, but
Yeah, the high
didn't
school
know.
parking lot.
Okay.
They usually cut that area off. So that's the cool thing about Hailey is there's a lot of good places to see it. Like just being on the bike path almost anywhere is good. Sometimes you'll see, if you watch, as people will hike the foothills around here because you can see the little headlamps going up and down.
Oh, yeah.
And that seems like a good place too. And,
Yeah.
I understand what a chamber is,
Mm-hmm.
but here, how long has this been around? Or like how long
This
has
is
it been passed down? How's it changed? Like I'm curious.
Okay, good question. Well, first of all, we're not currently we're not a totally traditional chamber, so to speak. Like we're not necessarily like Twin Falls or Idaho Falls or Boise, because what we do a lot of, even though we do a lot of the chamber stuff itself, we spend a lot of our time on marketing to get people here and support our tourist-based economy and in doing events. We're involved in over 40 events a year, and we spend over $250,000 every year just trying to get people to come visit. And we have that great visitors guide I know you guys have seen. Get requests for that all over the country every day. So we do a lot of that. And then we do the traditional chamber stuff of the brown bag. We don't do the brown bag lunch. We do business after hours. I have a ton of meetings with local businesses and nonprofits all the time. And we get a lot of grants from the city, the state, the Air Service Board to try to keep people coming here. But the history of the chamber is fairly interesting. And exactly when the Hailey Chamber started, I'm not exactly sure. We can find evidence back into like the 50s. So unfortunately, the bookkeeping hasn't been that great. But at one point, every town here had their own chamber pretty much. Bellevue had a chamber, Hailey had a chamber, Ketchum, Sun Valley always sort of combined. Cary technically still has a chamber. Don't know how much they're doing. But what has happened over the years, and in about 2010, the Sun Valley Ketchum Chamber of Commerce essentially folded, and they were a visitors service as well. So they were chambers and a direct marketing organization, a DMO, which is partially what we are under the Discover River Valley brand. But that community up there gets politically hot. They decided they didn't need a chamber anymore, so they closed the chamber down. And about a year later, they created Visit Sun Valley, which still exists and focuses 100% pretty much on marketing and big level marketing and all that kind of stuff. And Ray Gadd is currently the executive director, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And his team's very solid, and we have a wonderful relationship, so they can balance us out a little bit. But since they were gone, and then Bellevue's folded, right when I got involved with the chamber, which was 2015, Bellevue's folded, came to the Hailey Chamber and said, can we be part of yours? Because we don't have enough to do, but we need some of your services and help and guidance. And we said, sure. So the Bellevue Chamber became part of us. And then a bunch of business leaders led by, at the time, Pete Precages, about a year or two later, came to the chamber board meeting and said, can you guys start looking out for us up here? We don't have a voice for small business. And that's what we have, such great relationships locally with all the political leaders, that we're a great connection for any problems like that. And what happens is, we know how it goes. We get so busy trying to make sure the limelight is full and that Pioneer is packed because everybody wants to go to that. We forget about the other mom and pops, and that's where we help. So every day we get phone calls. I got an event. We got this going on. Who do I talk to about this? How can you help? The motto with me as the executive director now for almost the last 7 years is that we're here to help. And because we have that attitude and because that's all we care about, that everyone comes to us. So since about 2017, I believe, 2018, we became the chamber for all of Blaine County and the whole of River Valley. So now that's why, and it gets a little confusing because people will call us the Hailey Chamber because we were always the sort of the biggest, oldest one. But we still are a little bit that, but we're also do chamber services for everyone. So whether it's you want to meet because you guys, and we've had many meetings, okay, who do we talk to? We just opened this business, who are our connections? Or we do things, we do these Ketchum coffee talks up in Ketchum where the mayor, Neil Bradshaw, and his staff go to a different business every other month and we have coffee with the community. Little stuff like that are, a chamber needs to be able to fill those needs. But like I said, I spend most of my time just trying to get people to visit here and move here and spend their money here and support the economy. And then the other half is all these darn events. But those two are married really well. I feel like one of the wonderful things that we have, and I've lived in Taos, New Mexico, and Bend, Oregon, Mammoth Lakes, California, spent a lot of time at all these other ski resorts. I was just visited a couple in Colorado last week. What we have, which I feel like a lot don't, isn't just that we have a great community and we have great recreation and solid restaurant scene, but we have so many events and we have such a strong cultural scene, and our nonprofit sector is so strong because of all these second homeowners who really care about this place, that we have I think it's arguably the world's longest, or it's the world's largest free symphony that comes on here every summer.
Yeah.
Boston Pops technically beats it in some aspect because it's a one night thing, but we beat it over the course of the summer. So that's an amazing thing to be able to go see world-class musicians for free in a stunning place. The gallery walks are amazing. There's just a lot of great things that we have that I haven't found. Like Mammoth Lakes, California, I love that town. It's great. But the beer festival is the coolest thing that we do there. And that the beer world's changing, so they're trying to adapt to it. We can talk to that too. So yeah. Anyway, so that's what the chamber is essentially in a nutshell. We're here to help. We do everything under the sun. We're connected all over the place. And that's our strength, is that we have 400 members and we're all over the place. And so if you need help, we usually can, whether it's a political connection or it's just another business to business, or it's a nonprofit to nonprofit. The phone's always ringing, the emails are always lighting up, and who knows. My job, like I say all the time, a city administrator called me today. How's your day going, Mike? I said, I'm never bored.
Always going.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you mind?
Oh, no.
Do you get a lot of backlash from the locals trying to bring more people in here?
I get, the hardest part of my job is the constant whining I get about everything under the sun. Yeah. I think in our community, though, it's not quite as bad. Like, I feel like when I lived in Mammoth, and I think you guys probably skied there over the years.
We've been there. Yeah.
Where that's a town where, like, on a Wednesday, you might have 3,000 people there. Then on a Saturday, you might have 30,000 people there. So it's insane what happens there. And I heard it more there. Here, I feel like because a lot of our tourism base is actually like second homes and friends and family. The number one overnight stay base for, hotels, Airbnbs, and camping in the state of Idaho is friends and family. It makes up over 50% of our overnight stays. And that's the same thing here. So a lot of it is, I get it, but not quite as much. We got it out of COVID like crazy. When everyone moved here and had that attitude we talked about earlier, like, this isn't what we do in San Diego. This isn't what we do in Dallas. And we're like, well, then go back to San Diego and Dallas because that's not how we live here. And a lot of those people, quite frankly, have left. We have a lot of those, because I would see them as a parent. A lot of these families came in, they loved it for about a year. And then they're like, I don't like this. I don't like that I have to drive 6 hours to play a hockey game. I don't like that I can't buy certain things here, or that you get sick of the same restaurant. So those things that are a little bit of downside to living here that we just accept. A lot of those folks didn't like it. But I do everything under the sun. That's the hard part, because I love when they're complaining about something I have nothing to do about. Because then it's great. You don't like your snowplow, you don't like the mayor of Ketchum, whatever your deal is, that's not how much I can do. The 4th of July, I always get a complaint the 5th of July every morning. Someone's upset about something every year. So that is
it's a Saturday, so you can have your phone off on.
They go, Mike, no one's going to call you on Saturday.
Just give him Spencer's number. To deal with it.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about your point is, this is another thing we've noticed. If we're very friendly, right? And old school Idaho is that way. And it's changing with all this massive influx of people into our state, especially the Treasure Valley and Northern Idaho. Really, even Eastern Idaho, Idaho Falls has changed a lot. But you know how it is, like, when you drive around a little town like this, or you're on the bike path, you wave and say hi all the time. Like I don't do it much anymore, but I used to, if I'm driving through Gooding or some little town, I wave at every other
No
pickup
one
truck.
waves here anymore.
They don't do that anymore. Yeah, to your point. And that, like on the bike path, people will pass me. I'll be like, hi, and they don't say anything. And I instantly know, like, you're new here.
Yeah.
And I hope you adapt to us because we try to be friendly to one another. But that is kind of, we're not as cool and friendly. Not cool is not the right word. We're not quite as friendly and as welcome as we used to be.
Well, we moved here like about 6 years ago, and people would wave all the time.
Yeah.
And I live in Dietrich. Do you know where that is?
I sure do, yeah.
So it's a small
then you
town.
really know, yeah.
And you don't say you're from California there.
No.
No,
Yeah.
but it's so different there because everybody helps each other out.
Yes.
And they're always there. Like I'll text someone or put on the Facebook group. They'll come over and help, like unloading something. But I feel like that's how it was when I first moved here. It was people wave, say hello. And then I'm like, go home, and I'm like, babe, I waved at this guy and catch him. He didn't even wave back. They look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, what the heck's happening?
You're totally nailing that. And that's a bummer to me
It's
as an
such a
Idahoan. Yeah, like the 30 years I've basically called this place home with some gaps in there. That bums me out because I am a friendly guy. In fact, I had to go into a county commissioners meeting not that long ago, and I was sitting there, and one of them goes, there you are in the back smiling again. All you ever do is smile. And I was like, I can't believe they're attacking me for smiling.
Are you serious?
But I'm like, I'm the chamber guy. I'm just here I'm here to put on an event for the community that's free. What am I supposed to be pissed off about?
Yeah.
That's why I got
The
out of
road
Boston.
construction.
Yeah. Well, that'll piss you off too, but I don't have to go up there as much. But
I wave at all those people. They're good. They
me
are
too.
waving.
They're awesome.
the people on the
they've
crew
been doing
are
awesome.
right. And that to that point, we've been having people coming into the chamber for 2 straight weeks coming in and going, what is going on at Ketchum? It's a mess up there. How do you guys allow this to happen? And you go, okay, well, first of all, it's a state highway, so they're making a lot of these decisions. Second, this is what happens when you ignore maintenance for 30 years.
Yeah.
You suddenly have a bunch of issues. Like, we're all homeowners, I'm sure. You go, I'm going to forget about that leak for a while. Sooner or later, it's a problem, and that is kind of how we've done a lot of things. We'll kick it down the can, but now we have more people living here, visiting here, driving through here. The roads are in terrible shape. It's kind of like getting dental work. Once we get our pretty smile here in a year or two, we'll forget how torturous,
Well,
the root canal was.
Speaking about people not being as as nice here, they just Blaine County Sheriff's Department just posted that someone insulted a road worker.
I saw that. I know. I'm curious about that. Yeah, it wasn't in the paper yet.
I didn't see
I'm
that.
like,
Yeah.
what the heck? They're just doing their jobs as
Yeah.
I know,
They are.
but-
I mean, I hope that's one of the Idaho County workers that comes up here and it wasn't a local. But
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I get it. I mean, it's been a couple of years with the whole. I mean, Ketchum. It's been tough to have a business in Ketchum the last couple of years, and it's tough to live up there. And this is a brutal thing that we're going through here. And especially as you guys remember, they just redid a lot of that pavement not that long ago. They just had to repave it 2 or 3 years ago. So, and even Bellevue's getting repaved right now, and it looks a lot better.
Oh yeah,
but
it
it's
looks
not
so much better.
But it's not a full fix. It's a Band-Aid on a chainsaw wound. So we're going to have another issue here sooner or later. But I hope between all the construction that we've had, and it's not just us, by the way. I just drove to Denver, and I-80's getting totally redone. There was construction everywhere. I mean, it's the one consistent we have. That the economy must be doing strong enough that we can keep redoing our roads.
Yeah.
But it's a bummer. The good thing too on that point though is they're supposed to have the Main Street section, the downtown core section, which is now the north part of town.
in Ketchum.
Yeah, it's supposed to be done by the 4th of July.
Cool.
So once we can, and they're redoing the bridge at the entrance too. But
Yeah,
once
4 lanes, right?
yes,
Yeah.
but once the entrance to coming in and out of from Elkhorn Road into Sun Valley and the Rivers and Gem Street area is still going to be rough for a bit of the summer. But at least the downtown core will now be cleaned up. And and it looks nice if you guys have been down on Ketchum in a while. We've lost a little bit of parking, which is a major issue, but it's nicer to walk around. It's more visually appealing.
Cool.
So I do think they're trying to be much more bike friendly in Ketchum. So there's a lot of positives that are going to come out of this. But we just have to get there first.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's funny to think about because in bigger cities, people come from California, from Texas, those sorts of places, super busy, and causes like high stress. And here, yeah, it's interesting watching because I grew up going to Stanley, and that was like the first time in my life I saw a road with no other car, and I'm like, this is the best feeling in the whole world.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to live here. And then, but through the years, yeah, more people moving here, causing more. I feel like it makes people feel busier almost. And then that like kind of agitates people a little bit. But I feel like the heart of the valley is still here. Like people, like the kind of work play sort of thing. Like at least for us with a small business, it's kind of fun working with other small businesses and being in tourism, where it's like you're still a part of like the fun, or work doesn't feel so much like work, and work feels more like life. And so that's kind of when we first moved here, how it kind of felt. Like everybody, like, you know, you won't hear from your realtor for 2 weeks because he's hunting or he's like out, you know, with his family. But like to the locals, that doesn't bother anybody because it's just like kind of the way of life.
Oh yeah, powder day. So, don't even try to get an email or phone call answer till lunch.
Oh, everybody. I don't hear from anyone. Even that was the funny thing was during the World Cup when we were like, everyone was so high strung. Like we're trying to prepare everything, and we're like the weeks are down. Then we get a super gnarly powder day, and you just don't hear from anybody. And it's like we had all this work that was like the deadlines were coming up, and then everyone's on the mountain. Which that's still here, which I like.
That is a great thing about our community. In most ski towns I've lived in, that you get a better work-life balance and you get a little more health there. To your point too, growing up in Boston, when I'm back there, people will ask you, "Hey, what do you do?" And they mean, "What do I do for work?"
Yeah.
Out here they go, "Hey, what do you do?" And they mean like, "What do you do for fun?"
Yes.
It's the same question with totally different answers.
Oh, totally.
Like, if I say, "Oh, I work for the chamber," they're like, "I don't care about that. Do you fish? Do you hike? Do you mountain bike? What's your deal?" And you go, "Oh, well, okay, I do all those things, yeah." But back east, I go, "Oh, I'm a fly fisherman." "Well, what do you get paid to do that?"
Yeah.
Well, I get paid to write about it, which means I'm in my office and not in the river. But so that is different, and that's one of the reasons that I've lived out west more than half my life now, because I do think it's much more important. Even me, I walk. So you guys probably know I like to walk and ride my bike. Have my little dog Doug with me. We walk all over the town. This time of year, I walk to work and back every day. And it's a little 10 minutes of, oh, look at how pretty the lilacs are. Look at how beautiful Della looks. Oh, here's my neighbor who I haven't seen all day. Or in a couple of weeks, how you doing? Or even someone, "Hey, Mike, I need to come meet you because we have an event tomorrow. Can I come talk to you?" "Yep, all right, come see me at the office." These are the things that happen here, or at the supermarket or the post office. The one challenge with my job is that I never really stop working. My kids won't even go to the supermarket with me anymore because you get in a conversation. But I also, most of the time, I like that. There are some days where you just want to hide. And there, every once in a while, I'll be like, "I wish I was in a city and no one knew me."
Yeah.
But
you're the local celebrity.
Yeah, and everybody can be a local celebrity to some degree, right? And celebrity's a little bit, since I'm in the media field a little bit, you see all that. But I feel like the mayor is the biggest celebrity in our town, and you know, some of these great other humans who do wonderful things. Gigi Lowe, who we just gave a big chamber award for volunteer of the year. She's been involved in everything for years. So yeah, celebrity is kind of a funny word to use, especially in a town like this when you have the Bruce Willises of the world running around here. But that's how small towns should be, right?
Speaking of Bruce Willis, do you know the story of that house, Demi Moore's house on
the dollhouse?
Yeah, dollhouse.
Yeah,
is it? So that's legit.
That was legit. I don't know. There was a place. It was just stored her dolls for a lot, and you could see dolls in the window.
Still there.
It's still there. I don't know what. You know, they still have their property just north of town, and she's still here occasionally. In fact, I saw Bruce. I used to deal with his kids. I was his kids. I was his kids. Scout, Rumor, and the other one. I was their softball coach for a year, and then I used to run the rock climbing gym, and they would have parties in there. So I got to know the girls. So the parents kind of knew me because the girls would be like, "Hi, Mike," and then Bruce would be like, "Hey, Mike." Not that he knew who I was, but and then my roommate was his personal assistant for like a couple of years too, when he was very active here and had the Mint and had the Liberty Theater, and they did a lot here. And that was a super cool time in the '90s when they were bringing all those big acts to the Mint. Yeah. And my buddies ran the place, and I ran Sun Valley Brewery, so I could just walk right in and be like, "Here you are, Mike. You know, here's Bruce and Blues Traveler," and lots of big names that were in the '90s came through then. So that was super cool. But I don't know what the deal is with that house, except it always kind of freaked a bunch of us out to think that this big, old, beautiful Victorian style, I think it's a Victorian, is full of dolls. I don't know. I heard someone might live there now. Like somebody lives in part of that house.
Maybe an assistant or something.
Yeah, something like that. But I do know they do come occasionally. Like I said, I just saw Bruce. It was probably a year ago in the post office, and he was staring at me until I said hi to him, which I thought was kind of funny. Like, I think part of Bruce and to me loved this area because it was still small town. And you know how we are here. We're not supposed to make a big deal out of celebrities, whether you see Arnold or Clint Eastwood, whoever you might see around here. that they were part of it. Like I remember seeing Demi and Ashton Kutcher at the Wicked Spud one night.
Oh yeah, Mike told me about that.
Yeah,
Mike Broman.
Yeah, Mike Broman, because they used to hang out in there.
I used to work there.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Alec is a buddy of mine too. He and I played some hockey together. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's why they liked it too, right? And I think that's why all these celebrities like it. Like, you just say hi to Bruce because he's Bruce, not Bruce Willis. He's just Bruce, the guy who happened to own the Mint and the other thing. And I think that particular day I saw him was really odd. I didn't know he was having some dementia issues because he kept, I had my glasses on. I didn't realize it was him. And I'm finally like, who is this guy that keeps staring at me? And I look up, I go, oh, hi. And he goes, hi. Like, finally, you looked at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're fired up for me to say hi to you. But somewhere in his brain, he's like, this is that guy who used to help my daughters, and he's a nice local guy. I figured is what he thought. Yeah.
I used to haul his golf clubs for him at Valley Club.
Oh, you did?
And I talked to his assistant because he was from Malibu, because I grew up surfing, so did he. And then the guy from Malibu and I were talking, and he would be angry some days, Bruce, because of his dementia. And some days he'd be really nice.
Oh, okay. So you've seen more recently?
3 years ago.
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. Because when I was dealing with him a lot, was in the late 90s.
When he was there.
Yeah, when he was here a lot, and his daughters were young kids, and now they're full-grown women. And, I think that's probably part of it. And who knows? It's easy for us to judge everybody. I don't think my roommate was his personal assistant. He was nice enough to him.
Yeah.
I wonder with him changing, because he had a big impact on, like you were saying, at the Mint and the Liberty. I'm curious if there's anything that you would bring back, or from the past, like some sort of event that happened, or maybe like an instance like that that you would want to bring back into Hailey.
If I had a little magic wand, first of all, I'd have Sun Valley Brewery be like what it was in the 90s when it was this rockin' place and everybody loved it. And now it doesn't even exist, unfortunately.
Yeah, I want to hear that. What was
we
that
can get into that. I don't know all the background for that. Then I'd love to have him still have the Mint because even though it wasn't a foodie place, it was just a great bar. They had this thing called Trash Disco every Thursdays for the 20-somethings, which was just awesome. Although we used to say, hey, us Hailey guys are stoked. All the hot gals from Ketchum are coming down to Hailey. But to have that kind of entertainment was amazing. It'd be nice to bring back the Northern Rockies Folk Festival, which used to be an awesome thing, a 3-day event down in Hailey. The fact that we are starting to do Riverfest kind of was inspired by it, and Hailey Rocks helped. But I think it would be to bring the Mint and the brewery back to what they once were. And that was all we really had. The other thing I would bring back is there was one, when I first moved here, Hailey was full of breakfast joints. There was like 5 breakfast places in Hailey. Now we pretty much only have Shorty's. We have some wonderful coffee shops, and Black Owl is terrific, and I go to Hailey Coffee Company a bit. But to go, like getting, me and my buddies, we call them Big Breakfast, BBS's Big Breakfast Saturday or Sunday, because you're usually partying at the Mint half the time. We're all hungover. And we could pick. There was the Hearthstone, there was the Sunrise Cafe, there were several of them, and now they're all gone. So, in fact, breakfast in our whole valley isn't as easy as it once. Neatery's still awesome up in Ketchum, and Bellevue keeps opening. Lucy's is back open, and Shorty's is a fun place for breakfast.
Yeah.
But, those would be the thing.
That's funny.
And maybe a little less people. I did kind of like it. I should never say this, and I know you're recording this stuff, but it'd be nice to go back to 5,000 people. You
have a lot of people nodding their head probably listening to that.
Totally.
That's what I was just talking with another one of our guys, Hayden, about wanting a breakfast place here again. But also I would love like a late night diner. I know it probably was a lot of business.
Awesome. This is the other thing that at the chamber, I get asked this all the time. It's so hard to eat here after 8 o'clock unless you want a hot dog or a taco, right? So where do you go? And I've been making this argument to everybody for years because the studies have now shown, and the Idaho Tourism Council, who I get the $250,000 grant to market our area for, shares all these studies with us at these conferences and through different meetings throughout the year. But the average American doesn't even start to think about dinner until 7 o'clock at night. Wow. And our average restaurant is closing at 8. So if the 3 of us are sitting here with our families, like, we're having drinks at my house or something, let's go get some dinner. Right, it's around 7. By the time we even get rallied, it's probably 7:30, and then you walk in and they get mad at you. They're like, "Oh, you're here. We were thinking of closing," And that's something that we as a community have to adjust to. But the bottom line, I understand it. I used to manage restaurants here in California and in Boston, as well as especially bar management was what I did a lot of. But doesn't make a lot of sense for them to stay open until 10 o'clock on a Tuesday most nights. That being said, and I know you said you live in Dietrich, but you're obviously here. We have a much larger base. When I was running Sun Valley Brewery, the place killed it. We would close basically at 9 on weekends, Friday and Saturday 10, so 5 to 10. But there was half the people here now, so it doesn't make any sense to me that they can't still be as busy. There are a few more restaurants than there were, but there's twice the bed base here.
Yeah.
So you would think we should start to thrive. And I'm a brewery guy, and I do like Sawtooth Brewery. I'm a member of the Mug Club. I go there a lot. But it blows me away to just have been in Colorado. I was in Dallas. I've traveled a lot this spring for my sons are pretty decent hockey players. But everywhere I go, every town like this has like 2 cool breweries, right? And we have one that does. Now we lost one, and I just don't understand why we can't make this work here. It still baffles me.
Yeah.
Is that Sun Valley Brewing Company over there?
Sun Valley Brewing Company, right across the street from you guys, closed at the end of May.
Oh, I didn't.
After being open since 1993.
Wait,
Wow,
what?
I did not know that.
Yeah. And it was sad, and they have their reasonings. They don't own the building, so that's part of their challenge. But they started brewing, and actually, here's an interesting story some interesting history for you. So Sun Valley Brewery actually started making beer in, I believe, 1986. But at the time, the guy named Gordon Gamble, who still lives around here sometimes, at least part of the time, created Sun Valley Brewery and was having it brewed in Montana. And at that, for like 2 years, it was the #1 selling microbeer in Colorado. So It was an Idaho brewery, actually brewed in Montana, that was #1 in Colorado. It's really fascinating. And then the beer industry, especially the 90s, had that huge microbrew boom like we kind of had sort of recently. So they bopped up all over the place. And then Colorado got huge and Montana got big, and they created this own one. And then in 93, this was an old car dealership next to you guys here on Main Street in Hailey. They turned into the brewery, and then it lasted until 2 weeks ago. So from that's 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I was just there.
Yeah, we were just
I love
there.
their nachos.
Yeah, they had great wings. I mean, the funny
good,
part, maybe it was part of their challenge. Their menu hadn't really changed since I was the bar manager from like 96 to 98, 99, and they hadn't changed the menu much since then. So we're all hoping, and everyone's like, Mike, you got to go win the lottery and take that over, which I would probably do. But that's the kind of thing that, it does bum me out. And I don't know, this is a challenge as a chamber guy, and all of us small businesses, we know we need more variety of food here, at least in the South Valley of Hailey and Bellevue. How do we, do we need just some hero to come out of, Salmon, Idaho just got a new brewery like 2 years ago that's out of Montana that moved in. And so Salmon, which is smaller than us, has 2 breweries now. Both on Main Street that seem to thrive. So I'm not sure what the answer is. Sawtooth does a great job. They do a wonderful job with events too. Sawtooth Brewery gets a lot of kudos for all the events they do.
They
all
do the
summer.
Oktoberfest, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, they do Oktoberfest. I go to that every year. And they've got the 2 locations, Hailey and Ketchum. And they do a lot of live music down here in Hailey. And they do a lot of great things. But it's a small space.
The one up there is really small.
The one up there is small. The one here is small. Did you ever go to the one on River Street? Yeah, it's tiny. And I actually
that big bar.
Yeah, And I was actually selling. There's a brewery in Missoula, Montana, called Bayern that has a small footprint like theirs does, but they kind of double up the office space. So I was actually trying to talk them into driving up there, so maybe they'll
go check it out.
Yeah, you guys could do this here. They laughed at me. I go, you know, on a roadie, Missoula's a cool town. It's right on this. Literally, Highway 75 goes to Missoula. You don't even have to turn. Just stay on the one road.
Well, isn't Animal Vodka based out of Hailey?
Party Animal Vodka.
Party Animal Vodka. Okay.
I believe they still. They don't have the offices over there, but I believe they still are.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of cool things.
This totally feels like a town that would just be blown up with breweries.
I know, it kind of blows my mind. Just being in Colorado, because you guys know that, like I said, every town seems to have 2 breweries. Any decent sized town, like 2,000 people, they're going to have at least one.
Yeah. Boise has some good ones.
Boise's gotten really cool. The microbrew industry has changed a little bit again, and we're coming off, because I was in the beer industry for a long time, that we're coming off of another high point like we had in the 90s, where there's a bunch of breweries and they're starting to retract a little bit, in part because the younger generation doesn't drink as much craft beer. So even the beer fest that's going on, the 10th, I think it's the 10th anniversary or the 11th anniversary of the Sun Valley Brew Fest, which is in Town Square and Ketchum. And it's a good event, like I said, because all the money goes to Ketchum Rotary, which they then give back to the community through scholarships and various things.
Oh, cool.
But one of the things they've done is really adapt, because I've been helping them, is they're having a lot of those RTDs, ready to drink.
Oh yeah.
That's a good. And Idaho wine is finally becoming legitimately accepted. It's taken a long time, but Idaho wine is finally not laughed at least most of it anymore. So there'll be a lot of wine and a lot of RTDs and microbrews. Where before, when I was running Beer Fest, it was no way. Maybe an NA version for someone who doesn't drink, but you wouldn't bring, if it wasn't a beer, you weren't bringing it into a beer fest. So that apparently has changed. And so that, to your point earlier, like if we're going to have a brewery, and all these breweries I went to a couple of incredible ones in Dallas not that long ago, and a couple good ones in Maui actually too. But what I was impressed was it didn't seem like everyone was drinking beer so much. It's still their foundation, but that whole craft idea where we're going to use craft beer. Now we have some craft cocktails. Now we have a locally based menu. One of the reasons I love breweries is because everywhere you go, where else can you know you're going to get something locally made?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're like, why is that beer, when Sun Valley was open, why is that beer called Gretchen's Gold? Because it's named after Gretchen Fraser. She's the first American woman to ever win a medal in the Olympics. And she was from here. She was actually from Seattle, but she skied here. And people, I didn't know that. Those are the types of cool things that we also miss by not having a brewery.
Yeah.
Or where'd you get, this brewery used to have local beef for their burgers for years. So it was really amazing to go in and be able to have burger the beef came from right down the street. So those types of things we miss, and I hope we get it back. And I hope someone, whether it's me or someone else, steps up and gives us another cool brewery. Because in the late 90s, that was a magical little location there. And
such a bummer.
Just try to go.
It is. And the two founding men who really created have unfortunately both passed. So that younger than they should have. So that I'm sure had some kind of an impact too. But
that isn't. Yeah, I never thought about that, about beer being able to kind of tell the story of the community. But it's so true. And well, to your point with Maui, it was like that's where me and my wife went on our honeymoon, and we would always go out of our way to go to the Maui Brewing Company.
That place was awesome.
Yeah, and that's a big brewery, and they're big in Hawaii. But it was cool because we're never gonna have that really elsewhere.
Especially Maui, flying to Idaho. Yeah,
and it's great food, and it's most breweries I'd say are family friendly. So it's you can go as a family, you could enjoy a beer and have your kids play cornhole or whatever, and just and hang around. I feel like that'd be maybe that.
Yeah, Maui, New Belgium Brewery in Fort Collins we went to reminded me of Maui. That just so much to do, dog friendly, family friendly. Maui Brewing Company has all those wild chickens running around the patio, and that is just such a cool thing that our community would love something like that. So I do hope we, one door closes, another one opens, as they say. So sometimes it is a lot of us are practically in tears at Sun Valley Brewery closed, but hopefully something cool will come out of that. Sawtooth Brewery will not move over there. I've already asked them.
Have you seen in Twin 2nd Street Market?
Is that right downtown?
Yeah.
Oh no, the new food. Yeah. No, I have not been in there yet.
Awesome.
I've heard that's awesome. Kind of like the warehouse in Boise, which is only a few years old and kills it too.
It's
they have an outdoor cornhole, and they have music, live music.
Right,
Twin is a great example of how the good parts of Idaho's development and change. And Twin has an amazing brewery. If you've ever been to Kodo,
it's
awesome.
My wife and I used to go all the time because we used to live in Kimberly.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
So we'd go there all the time.
Kimberly's a good baseball town.
Yeah.
They produce good baseball players out of Kimberly. No, I'm a big Twin fan. This is what the other interesting thing about moving to Idaho in the mid 90s when it was still, nobody knew what it was, is Boise and Twin were laughed at by people here. They used to call Boise Blase and Twin was Twinkie Flats, and nobody wanted to go to do any of those things unless you had to shop or had to buy something. You didn't go we're going to Boise for the weekend. What are you doing that for? Now it's I'm going to Boise. Oh, really? That's awesome.
Golf.
Go Top Golf. Go to the Botanical Gardens. Go to all these amazing breweries. Go to 8th Street. Go to the North End. Do all these amazing things that you could do there. Twin is the other one. Twin's about to get an In-N-Out burger. I don't know if you guys know that.
Yep. And
Let me change this real quick.
Oh, and a Cane's too. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Twins has gotten cooler too. So there's these other Buell has become a cool little town.
I love Buell.
Go there, yeah.
My wife and I like Hagerman as well.
Oh, Hagerman, the Banana Belt, one of Idaho's 2 banana belts, is awesome.
My friend just opened a restaurant there.
Oh, nice.
And it's all what do they call that? What is that? Farm to table?
Oh yeah, farm to table is big and
unbelievable. It's so good.
That's one thing from a tourism point too that is changing for Idaho for the better is we are now becoming more of a foodie destination. So not only is wine finally being accepted, and the winery deal is because it takes at least 20 years, they say, till you can have solid grapes. So Idaho, a lot of these wineries are now in their mid-20s and 30s, so they're becoming established and more legitimate. But the other thing is food. Like the Snake River Plain is a food breadbasket. Outside of the Sacramento, Central Valley of California, there isn't probably any places, at least in the West, that are producing such a wide variety of food stuff that we are here. Whether we're famous for trout and potatoes, obviously, and grain for all the breweries, but there's also a lot more in all these small farms, probably in Dietrich, itty bitty farms down there in Cary. There's more of that popping up. So it's been a growth the last 2 years. It's been some of the biggest growth. People coming to Idaho want to eat Idaho food. Yep. They want to know, and that's why it's a bummer to not have a brewery. And a lot of our restaurants here do great farm to table stuff. And the specific ones, as you guys know, CK's is great at it. The new Fiamma up in Ketchum is really hanging their hat on that. But everybody has a little bit of that aspect. So it is good because so much is coming out of there. And I didn't realize Twin Falls has an amazing welcome center too, if you guys have ever stopped in that.
I haven't stopped in there yet.
Yeah, they do.
Right by the Pine Bridge. Yeah. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Where the Tesla chargers are.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And those are popping up from a tourism point. Those are popping up.
Yeah.
They're putting them in Bellevue right now. We just got some in Hailey. That's good. Hopefully the industry continues to go in that direction.
When do those open?
I don't know exactly.
You don't know.
Because I thought they were open here now, but I don't know that they're.
They have the covers over them still.
They still are covered, and Bellevue's finishing theirs now. Maybe it's the same people. I don't know.
Okay.
Some of that was grant based. I believe the one in Hailey is just a private person has put that in.
Because I remember I worked on. I've had many jobs. I worked on Nob Hill, and we've had a charger there.
Oh yeah, Nob
and then they
really
have one down at what's that? Silver Creek Hotel.
Yeah.
They have one there.
Oh, okay.
So like people would be looking like, hey, can we charge here? When I was at Nob Hill, I'm like,
There's one in town here too, over by the courthouse over here. Somewhere over there, they put one or two because they talked to the chamber when they first wanted to do this, and we wanted to get it by us. But there's little rules. Well, that was grant funding. It has to be within walking distance of a bunch of stuff because they feel like it takes half an hour, so they don't want you to. We didn't have enough at the Welcome Center besides the ice rink and the Snow Bunny.
Oh, Snow Bunny.
And they're like, that's not in the hardware store. Like, dude, Snow Bunny, hardware store, and an ice rink. No, we're putting it downtown. So I lost out on that.
That's awesome that they have it there.
No, it is good. And this is going to be a great location. We also, and I think you guys know, we created a Hailey walking tour map a couple of years ago with state grant funding to get people to walk our town. Part of the challenge on the DMO and the tourism side is to make Hailey less of a speed bump. Which is a lot in the summer. People come in the welcome. Where are you going? We're going to Ketchum. We're going to Stanley. We're going to Salmon. We're driving up to Montana, wherever they're going, Oregon, all over the place. They stop in on us, and we'd like them to stay a little longer to go support our restaurants and coffee shops and spend some more money and give us some local option tax revenue to help our communities stay more financially solid.
Sweet.
That's funny. Yeah, when we first started the company, I would go pick up like some of our homeowners or our guests and bring them through. And sometimes the guests would be like, as we're driving through Hailey, they're like, so what's this town?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is Hailey. But I'm like, there's a good brewery. There's a good coffee shop.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta go there. So like, as I'm driving by, I'm like, stop there.
And that, that's good. You do that too, because the other sort of trend that we're seeing is people want to find real Idaho, right?
Yeah.
And Ketchum, as much as it is, and although it's changed a lot with all the buildings over there, it does look more like a Colorado ski town now. But people don't feel like that's real Idaho, but Hailey does. We've done some studies on this, and you'll ask people what they think of Ketchum, Sun Valley, and they'll say it's nice, but it's expensive, and it's a little elitist, and it's whatever. Then you ask about Hailey, Bellevue, and the Wood River Valley, and they'll say, oh, that's nice Idaho. Those people are really friendly. That's a cool little spot. So it's nice to have both of those aspects for our community. And Hailey and the Valley wouldn't be as great if it weren't for everything that Ketchum and Sun Valley brings to us. So there's a nice balance there. But it is, you drive through and you don't. Because a lot of people fly in and Hailey is nothing. They don't think of us as we're just the airport town. But as time's gone by and having the CKs of the world and Black Owl is terrific and Powerhouse Pub, which is a very unique restaurant. Those types of things appeal to some of the ketchup.
Their ketchup more. Is insane.
Their homemade ketchup's really good.
Gosh.
Wait, where at?
Powerhouse Pub on the north side of Hailey. Bicyclist bar, biker
I think
bar.
it'd be sweet if they had a steakhouse in Hailey.
It's kind of funny we don't. Pioneer Saloon is the steakhouse.
Duffy.
Yeah, Duffy. And there was, thinking historically back, like the Red Elephant Saloon used to essentially be a steakhouse, which is probably what the Mule Shoe was too. So we kind of had them, but when you compared the old Red E compared to the Pio, it was not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's
iconic, the Pioneer.
The Red Elephant did great for a while. But
I also worked there.
Yeah.
My wife and I both worked there.
So you're a true mountain town person. They say a local either has, a trust fund or 3 jobs, right? That's our classic local.
I love my Dietrich, though, so.
Yeah. And Dietrich has that place that's known for the chicken fried steak.
Yep, they closed down a couple years ago.
Oh, they did.
The daughter is trying to reopen it, so when I drive by to go home, I see him working on it every day. So
that's cool.
Well, that's to show you, like that
the
time
Eagle's
it's
Nest
restaurant, and all of a sudden you're like, now what do we do?
Yeah. What's Dietrich?
Yeah. Well, it could help Dietrich, and it'll probably help us too. That like even Shoshone, and I don't know what Gooding's popular is, but Shoshone's growing, and Twin's growing like crazy, and these are visitor bases for us.
And they're expecting Twin to be like Boise at one time.
Really, unfortunately, I don't want it to be that big. Like I bet but it's going that way. I mean, you lived in Kimberly; they're all meshing together.
Kimberly,
it's like, where does Twin and Kimberly start? I don't know. They're all the same. And Hanson now is struggling.
Hanson's just the farmers are just selling parcels of their land to build these KB homes on.
The Treasure Valley is sort of heartbreaking too, and even talking about all the wineries and stuff, because you used to be able to drive. If you were in Boise, have you guys ever gone to that outdoor concert venue that's in Nampa?
No, I haven't.
I forget what it's called. There's an indoor and an outdoor, but it used to be when I first lived here and that first opened, we were all going, we're going to a concert. Where is it? And if you hadn't been there, they'd go, just drive by Boise and you can't miss it. Because you'd leave Boise and there'd be farm fields, and then there was this big venue there. And I just drove through it probably a few months ago. I had to go to Tri-Cities, Washington. And I'm like, I told my son, I go, now it's all one. It's basically you go from Boise almost all, at least to Meridian, and you don't know where, or Nampa, and you don't know where one thing ends and the next thing starts. And it's almost going all the way out to Caldwell. So the Treasure Valley is up to like 1 million people, right? It's crazy and now they're having traffic issues. And,
it's horrible.
And those type of things too. So
they're expanding their airport too. So
yeah, the airport's getting a huge expansion with the parking and all which has its pluses and minuses. Our airport is having record numbers of flights this summer.
I see a lot more advertisement for Twin. They're trying to grow
Twins,
more.
Yeah, and that actually helped me
airport.
out. Yep, that's for those of us who live here. Yeah, we actually couldn't. When I came back from Dallas, we got bumped, and I had to fly into Twin. I couldn't get back into Sun Valley, so that is a nice option. Idaho Falls Airport's actually expanding too. So for those of us who live here, you now can fly out of Hailey, you can fly out of Twin, you can fly out of Idaho Falls, you can fly out of Boise, and so. That for our tourist base, or whether you live here or you want to visit, all those options make it easier. In the summer, it's more fun, I think, to fly into Boise or someplace and do the road trip, and especially this time of year when it's beautiful in the Camas Prairie. Although some people came in and actually told me they thought the Camas Prairie was ugly. We drove through nothing to get here from Boise.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, especially this time of year on the Camas lilies. I think they're done, but it's a beautiful green. She's like, there was just a bunch of nothing. I'm glad we're here. And I thought, you're not going to be a good Idahoan if you thought the Camas Prairie sucked. I don't know if this is the right state for you.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a last question.
Sure.
What do you feel? Do you feel optimistic about the future of the Wood River Valley?
I do.
Or pessimistic, but
no. I mean, I'm generally an optimistic, hopeful person. I think there are some challenges that are hitting us that we're not totally prepared for because they're more urban with what you guys are talking about, the traffic issues, and parking is unfortunately becoming an issue in our valley. I know we want to be bike friendly, and like I said, I went to city council a few weeks ago and I said, nobody walks around Hailey more than I do. Find them. I walked here for the city council meeting. You guys know I walk everywhere. I can't walk everywhere December, January, and February because it's not that easy. So my biggest concern is handling traffic. We got a small highway, and as much as we say we want people to not drive, people drive, they love their cars, and we have a growing population base. So the parking issue and getting around in the winter and stuff concerns me a little bit. But besides that, I think that we're moving in a really positive direction around here. I think that we're handling growth. It's not as big a growth as people think that we're having. And the fact that we have the bike path, and if the feds don't sell off all of our public lands here, I mean, it shouldn't change. We only have so much growth. We can't build on the hills here. We've got public lands on both sides. We're just a little sliver of humanity amongst all this wilderness and open space. And I think that's the magic potion that'll always keep us awesome. And I think it'll always be a great place for families. And if you grow up here, like so many of my friends who are now in their midlife and their parents of teenagers too, they appreciate and really don't know what this place is, and then they pass that off to their children, like your kids. Even if they're in Dietrich or they're here in Hailey, this valley will be great, and it'll be a place that they want to be and return to, and then keep their principles and their love and of the place. You know, a true Idahoan, we believe in leave no trace, I should say. And I say a true Idahoan lives by the leave no trace philosophy, that whenever you do, you don't trash it. And I think if we can continue that, and the Chamber's pushing that, and just, you know, if it's we before me and it's community before me, then we care about our environment, and I think that the future here should still be a great place to live, and if you can afford it.
They're trying to grow south of Bellevue too.
They are. Yeah. There's potentially big growth in Bellevue too, and I'm on the Bellevue has started a new advisory committee to redo their comp plan, and they have a really impressive group. I'm in that group, and so they're thinking. And the other part to your question is, can we learn from our mistakes? Hailey and Bellevue have the blessings of getting to watch what Ketchum and Sun Valley go through, because they're usually ahead of us on everything, and see what kind of pitfalls they have, and then hope to avoid them or learn from them. Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to shout out? Going ahead.
No, but just thanks for having me. It's cool that you guys do stuff like this, you know, and the quality in here is really great. And it's cool to have you guys come to our community and really care. And I mean, as a chamber guy, I recommend a lot of people. It's nice to be able to recommend MVP and feel confident about it. Like I said, like I'd have my family deal with you guys, so that's as high a compliment you can give, and that's important to me, that we treat the visitors well. And you guys are on the front lines of that, so to remind them how to be good Idahoans or good visitors to the Gem State, so that they know who we are, remind them to wave to everybody. And like I joke, wave with all your fingers. Yeah, that's just one of them.
Yeah. Spencer's bad at that. I'm just kidding.
That is when we were talking about it earlier. That's how has Hailey changed? I go, not as many people wave with all their fingers anymore, right?
Well, thanks, Mike, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sweet.
Your next adventure starts here. Visit our website to learn more. And be sure to join our community on Instagram. We'd love to have you.